Self-awareness, man. A lot of the trajectory change in my life came from self-awareness, and one of that was recognizing how lucky I was having my father and a father figure in my life for most of my life, and then moving away from home, having to cultivate a community, having to move 750 miles away from your foundation, your friends, everybody you've known your whole life, to nobody within 750 miles of you that you know.
Yeah.
You got to build a foundation. You have to build a network. So I started realizing, like, oh man, like, yes, there are snakes in the grass. You need to learn how to protect yourself, but B, like, you
Back at you with another episode. Coming at you from ChooseYourRelationships.com, author of Love Can't Wait, which can be found on Amazon.com. So today I have another special guest. But before I get into that, if you have any questions, any concerns, anything you want me to talk about, the easiest way to reach out to me is my website, ChooseYourRelationships.com. If you go there, if you click on the contact tab, you can send me any message, any topics. Just put in the subject line, put Love Can't Wait. That way I'll know how you found me and everything. So with that being said, my special guest today is Ted Phaeton. He's a morning meteorologist for Queen City News in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's also a member of the National Weather Association and received his NWA Television Radio Seal of Approval, making him a certified meteorologist with national organization. He's also the host of the Modern Man podcast, focused on connecting men in pursuit of their potential. As a founder of the Modern Man, a man's networking and empowerment group, he hopes to help build men in their communities and become their best selves. His mission is to help men establish meaningful relationships, network with like-minded individuals, and build a support group that will help them excel in life, business, and relationships. Welcome to the show, Ted.
Man, thanks for having me on. Thanks to the listeners for giving me the time and the attention, because I know how valuable it is, and I promise not to take it for granted. But thank you, man.
Yeah. So where are you from?
Born and raised in Long Island, Brentwood, and pretty much just grew up with my parents. They're both immigrants from Haiti, and then, man, just went through school, chased my dreams, landed in what I thought was a good spot one day, and realized that I wasn't giving it my all, and realized if I can get this far without intention, man, what happens if I really turn the gas on? So I've been chasing my potential ever since.
Yeah. So, have you been to Haiti?
I have not. Both of my parents came here from Haiti, and my dad, he's like, I don't want to go back. My mom, she's gone back multiple times. I told them whether they like it or not. Now that I'm a grown man, I'm probably going to go back at some point in time, because I believe my true story starts with their roots and my Haitian roots. So, I mean, I definitely, that's on my list to go back soon and really kind of touch that homeland that's already gave me so much energy.
Yeah, man. I've heard a lot of different stories. I'm going to go eventually.
Yeah.
I heard about that, the DR, Dominican Republic, and Haiti. So I'm going to go eventually, But they say, hey, it's hot.
They say it's hot, but my sister's been, my family's been, and they also say it's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And like a lot of places, there's some people listening right now, they might live in Chicago, which is beautiful in the summer, but you're beaten up in the winter. Or you live in LA, which might be beautiful all year round, but that mortgage every year probably hurts. So it's hard to find something that's 100% good.
Yeah, there's pros and cons everywhere you go. There's no perfect place that I've been anyway. There might be some perfect places out here, but I haven't been there.
Yeah. If y'all find it, let me know.
Exactly. So So how long have you been a meteorologist? Some people will say he's just a weatherman. My grandmother used to say, "Hey, he's a weatherman."
Yeah.
So how did you get into that? How long you been doing that?
Wow. So I've been in the business for about a decade. I started off as a meteorologist in Saginaw, Michigan, lasted almost a year, then got an opportunity to go to Greenville, South Carolina. I was there for about 8 years. While I was there, I actually became a morning anchor. I was an anchor for the past 5 years. So I've actually spent half of my career as an anchor. And just recently, in the past year or so, made it back to weather as a meteorologist, which is really kind of where my passion in media started. And it's kind of just been going ever since, man.
Okay. Yeah. So I actually used to work in Bank of America.
Okay. Yeah.
So
the headquartered in Charlotte.
Yeah. So I used to see some of the news people coming in like early, like 6, 7 o'clock. And I always wondered, like, do you have to have a lot of qualifications? Or is it a very strenuous process?
I mean, it's a pretty deep road. You have to. It's a road that you usually have to go through intention to get right. I don't think it's unattainable or extremely difficult. It's very attainable for anybody listening. But you're gonna have to follow an education regimen. You're gonna have to learn the science, learn the basics, learn the foundations of weather, the atmosphere, and all those things, and then learn the articulation and really the communication behind it. Right? There's a lot of amazingly smart people in the weather industry who understand the nuances of the science, but maybe their communication skills aren't their strong suit. Maybe they get so in the weeds with the science, it doesn't really kind of relate to the average listener. So a lot of what I do is understand the depth of the science and articulate it in an understandable way and talk about, like, weather's doing this. We have a cold front coming in. That means, honestly, you can look on your phone what the temperature is going to be. I'm just telling you how that dictates your actions. So if I say, hey, it's going to be a little chilly out this afternoon and breezy, grab that sweater, you're going to be like, Ted said grab the sweater. Because if you look at the numbers on your phone, that doesn't always tell you to grab the sweater.
Yeah. So let's talk about your community. How did the Modern Man podcast come about?
Self-awareness, man. A lot of the trajectory change in my life came from self-awareness, and one of that was recognizing how lucky I was having my father and a father figure in my life for most of my life, and then moving away from home, having to cultivate a community, having to move 750 miles away from your foundation, your friends, everybody you've known your whole life, to nobody within 750 miles of you that you know.
Yeah.
You got to build a foundation. You have to build a network. So I started realizing, like, oh man, like, yes, there are snakes in the grass. You need to learn how to protect yourself. But B, like, you can't stay solo. You can't. So that led me to realizing, and I've had great relationships, friends, and people along the way. But there's certain people that just, they're on the same mission. They're on the same vibe. Like they get it. You know, if I'm in the gym, they're working out too. If I'm trying to better myself, they're trying to better themselves too. So you also have to kind of link up on values. But finding that was so important for me and for my growth and for the trajectory of where I was trying to go in life, and having that accountability, having those relationships, resources, and somebody to just also kind of grab you by the elbow sometimes and be like, oh man, you're messing up a little bit. That's what I needed to establish.
Yeah, I can relate to that, man. I moved, I don't know how many times. I probably moved, at this point, I probably moved like 7 or 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you move, you pretty much have to start all over again. As far as connecting with people, just socially speaking, you have to start all over again. And I remember at a time when I was single. In my mind, I always thought, hey, as long as I got money, well, hey, I don't really, people come when they come, you know. But that's been proven not to be the case.
I feel like it's harder with money.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, it's just you, and you know there's, you know, plus back then I was kind of naive. You know, I thought it's in my mind that, hey, if all these people are hanging out with me, we're having a good time, hey, it's all good until something happens. And then you see who your friends really are. You be like, oh man, I thought we were cool, man. Like,
Yeah.
You call them up, you be like, hey, I need a favor, man. I had an accident, my car crashed. I had to get it pulled to the shop. You know,
Yeah.
I won't get it back until 2 weeks later. They'll be like, oh, I gotta call you back. You know, so it's that those type of examples taught me valuable lessons over the years. That as long as you're having a good time, everything is cool. But when things start to happen to you, that's sometimes out of your control, then you start to see who your real friends are, and then you start to see that money only go but so far.
Yeah, like it's almost we call them the fair weather friends, right? And like, well, I could relate to the fact of, I remember when I started wanting to get more in the business realm. I started want to do some more things that were serious. The guys that I'd be at the club with Saturday night wouldn't be able to make my charity event on Sunday. And I'm like, okay, cool. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But when I realize I'm trying to do something, maybe give back, right? It's great that we can get VIP, we can rent out a spot in the club, have a great time. But also, if there's some good we can do, and if I'm trying to organize it, right? Like, that's the thing, is if I'm trying to organize it, I appreciate you buying me a drink last night. I probably would have preferred you to donate to that charity I was trying to raise money for. You know? And that's some real talk. But it's also like, if I have a pop-up shop that I'm hosting, if I'm trying to get my merch off the ground, right? If I'm trying to get into business and I'm trying to look for property, right? Maybe I need brick and mortar business. I'm trying to look for 1,200 square feet. I'm trying to see if my friend is going to put me in contact. Like, we're trying to elevate. We're trying to kind of talk about growing and becoming better. And when we talk about relationships, I mean, that plays into also, quote unquote, being what I would call myself being like just the magnet of what I want in life, right? If I tell myself I want a queen, I need to establish my resources and my environment to build a castle. I need to visualize myself as a king. I need to operate, move, be a king to attract the queen, right? So I'm trying to be the caliber of man that would attract the female that I want to be with. And if my crew isn't doing the same thing, kind of like Kobe Bryant, where he's sitting there, he's like, man, I don't relate to lazy people. Yeah, that might sound messed up, but like, in all fairness, like, they're not going where he's going.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, when I was younger, I didn't really, the people I was hanging out with, I didn't really think about it like that. I was kind of like thinking that, hey, we are having a good time. These are my friends. These are my people, or whatever. Now, I was always trying to elevate myself, but I just assumed, hey, if I introduce this idea to them, they should be okay with it. That wasn't the case. Everyone is not trying to elevate. Everyone is not trying to get better. You know, just because you're wrong with that. You're right. It's not wrong with that. Not at all. But I was like, you know, that's when I kind of had I got a wake up call. I'm like, I mean, I've been kind of just kind of wasting my time, you know, and you know, because I kind of got caught up in this having a good time phase when I was in my 20s, and when I look back, when I was in my 30s, and when I look back on it, I basically was wasting my time all those years.
Yeah, I would say, if you're like me, man, you were good at it. Yeah. Right? Like, man, I was good at having a good time. Like, I was laughing getting laughs at the party. You know, like, when you walk in a room and about 15 people put their hands up, hey, that feels good, man. You know, that feels good. It does, to have that impact on a room. And it's kind of like I'll say this, it's kind of like the hard workers, the businessmen, the guys working 2 jobs who work so much, barely come home, because the reality is at work they have authority.
Yeah.
Right. At work, they're respected and looked up to and all that. But when they get home, they're like, all right, well, I'm just at home, you know, and all the guys talk about that joke. It's like, you know, I'm third on the list in my house. You know, it's the kids, my wife, and then me. And actually, it's the kids, the wife, the dogs, and then me. But like, so it's the same as that environment of us getting engrossed in work because it gives us validation and we almost neglect being at home. Right. The same would be us. And I did the same thing. Is I would go out. I spent my weekends going out. I spent money going out. Man, I had to hang up a receipt on the wall on a Monday night, buying rounds for friends on trivia night, watching Monday Night Football. Spent $180 on a Monday night. And I think to myself now, the way my mind works, I'm like, okay, how can I invest $100? How can how can I put $100 in my business? How can I save? So now I'm thinking completely different. So honestly, that's why there's nothing wrong with that, because I had the same mindset. I was in the same realm. I was doing the same thing, you know? So I'm not batting an eye on that, because that's the same life I was living. But when I started thinking about, okay, where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you trying to go? I understood that not everybody was going on the same path, and I had to be okay with that. But it's, where do I want to go? And truth be told, that doesn't mean you completely ostracize people. It just means the frequency in which you see them changes, right? And some of the most potent relationships actually flourish with lack. The less of you have, the more impactful those times are. So I could actually, it's not that I don't go in that room and get those 15 hands up screaming anymore. I just don't get it as often.
Yeah.
But I still make the birthday parties. Like, I didn't disappear. I didn't change. I just had to rearrange some things, right? So I'm not a recluse. I'm not gone. It's not, oh, what happened to Ted? He's too good for. No, it's I still pop up, just not as often, right? Or my circle might look a little different, but the major events I still don't miss, and that's how people know that you care about them. You're there when it's important. Like you said, I might not be there on the Friday nights all throughout the year, but when your kid's born, I call, right? When you might, man, I lost my job. Well, hey, I got some recommendations for you. Here's a guy, right? Like, when it matters, I show up. That's what I'm not trying to miss.
Yeah, when it matters, when they really need you, you show up when it counts. Gotcha. Yeah. So let's talk about like business. How did you know you could get involved in these business endeavors? Did you come from a background of that, or were you hanging around other people that were doing stuff like that?
Yeah, I think I got exposed to it. After I graduated, actually, the irony was, after I graduated, I had a degree in broadcast meteorology. That's what I studied in school, and had every intention in starting in weather, but I had to work at a law firm before that. It was a law firm who the CEO, the boss, was the father of my best friend growing up. So pretty much he gave me the summer job when I was in college, graduated, couldn't find a job. He's like, yo, you have a job here as long as you need. So I did data entry, billing clerk, right? I just logged the lawyer's hours. Well, in doing that, I'm literally seeing the lawyer's hours as they're working on medical lawsuits, right? Medical malpractice lawsuits. They started a school, so I'm also seeing the back ends of a business. I'm seeing like the logistics of a business on the back end, having to log every, like, you know, I'm talking about tracking to the point of every photocopy, every phone call. Like, as the billing clerk, I'd have to go to the lawyer and be like, hey, on Tuesday at 3:27 p.m., you dialed this specific number and you were on the phone for 2 minutes and 36 seconds. What was that call regarding? Because I'm about to charge for that. Like, that level of detail. But what I saw was a well-oiled machine, and it actually was the environment where I actually started my first business. I went to my boss and I said, listen, I'm trying to get into TV and I have an idea. He let me do the weather forecast in the morning. So my job went from billing clerk to billing clerk and weather consultant. I noticed, it's funny because I noticed these letters would come in with this big blue label, this big blue seal, and then this code on the front, just like numbers and letters. Now, to the naked eye, that's just like computer code jumbling, right? To me, I'm like, that's METAR code. In other words, that's like computer weather code. I know how to read that. I studied that. So I see the lawyer like wrapping his head around it. He would spend an hour, 2 hours wrapping his head around it. I'm like, bro, I could look that up and I could type up a memorandum and get it to you in 15 minutes. He's like, perfect. I do that. Now I'm saving the company time. Now I'm proving value, because what used to take 2 hours is now taking 15 minutes, but they still charge the same for that process. They still charge the same for getting that information. So when I'm realizing that on the back end, and I'm like, oh, maybe I can do this. I went to my boss. I said, I want to open an LLC. He showed me how to open an LLC, how to have an account and get a bank account. And then my eyes, I mean, it's almost like, Pandora's box. I've seen too much. I can't go back.
Yeah. That's good, man. I got exposed, but I was exposed around people that actually started businesses. Now, okay, I wish that I would have had both sides, the attorney side and the business owner side, but I was just around people that started businesses, older people too. I remember the first guy I met, my mom used to do bookkeeping for him. And this is back in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Yeah.
He owned like 2 water parks. And I didn't even know he was rich. I didn't even know he was a millionaire. He was just a regular guy. I didn't know he was a millionaire until like 2 years later. And I think we used to go to the water park all the time. And when I turned 18, I went to college. And just before I went to college, I had a chance to talk to him. And that's when I found out he was rich. And I asked him, well, how did he do it? He said, basically, it was passed down to him. He didn't have to start nothing from scratch.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I used to ask him questions all the time. And from there, I went in the Navy, got out the Navy. And that's when I started meeting all these other people that started businesses from scratch. And I worked with this guy that started a publishing company. And he used to publish books, newsletters, magazines, so I wish that I had both. Like, I wish I knew an attorney.
Yeah.
Because there's a legal side of things, and so I kind of wish I would.
I think I got lucky with that exposure. You're right, because I got to see the attention to detail. Like, I'm talking about when we talk about business, and it's funny because business for anyone who's an entrepreneur going out there starting it, and I actually, it's funny because even being exposed to it, I had to learn the hard way that it comes down to processes and systems.
Yeah.
Processes and systems. Can you replicate this? Is this a well-oiled machine that operates in your absence? And I was a cog in the wheel, but I was able to because of my connection to the boss, and like, for example, my best friend is the son of the boss. So he would come to see me on my lunch break. The boss wants to spend time with his son. Hey boys, let's go to lunch. But while he's going to lunch, he's also got a client that he has to entertain. High-end client. So we're not going to lunch at the bodega down the street. This is in Long Island, New York. We're going to lunch at this nice little Italian restaurant. Me and Pat are sitting there. The boss and one of the major clients are sitting there. And we're all having a conversation. I'm getting exposure so those were the opportunities where I think I got to see the well-oiled machine, and I also got to see some of the networking behind the scenes. I got to see, it was almost like MTV Cribs. Like, I'm in there, and I wasn't taking it for granted. I was paying attention. I was learning. I was picking up on the cues, little things he would tell me. I was like, oh, okay. He wasn't trying to correct me. He was trying to he was kind of showing me the game a little bit, So I was like, I'll listen, I'll learn. And as I started getting into building on my own things, I start seeing the lessons come back, and what he showed me, and the reason why I saw it in the first place was, I think the reason I had that exposure in the first place was because I showed the spark and the curiosity. And it's almost like when you have a friend, or you might know a mentee, right? You might have a mentee that you're mentoring, and you might offer and open up the opportunity to have that relationship because you see the spark in this young person. You see this, like you see the tools in which you like, man, if I had what this kid has, I would have been gone. So I'm gonna make sure this person surpasses me by the time they get to me. I think he saw a little bit of that in me, that innate talent, that scout. And then he's like, let's feed it. Let's go. Which is why, like with the modern man, that's what my passion is building that community of men, because usually, and it's just kind of how we're wired sometimes. Like we'll see that in other guys. We'll see that monster in another guy. When I say a monster, and like, bro, you be a beast at this, or like, bro, man, you crush it at this. But you need that positive affirmation. You need sometimes an older guy to give you that affirmation, because your mom can give you that affirmation. The women in your life can give you that affirmation, but it doesn't quite hit. It doesn't have the same resonance when a man that you look up to and respect gives you credence towards something you feel like you want to do.
Yeah, I think the mistake a lot of guys make today, and I made the same mistake too. We don't fellowship enough. We don't get with other guys. We don't talk to other guys. You know, a lot of stuff we like. Hey, we just keep it to ourselves and deal with it in our own way. But that's a mistake, because a lot of guys see it. And hey, if I'm going through something, and if I confide in another guy, hey, that's a form of weakness. No, that's actually if you confide in another guy that's successful, that's respectable, that's not weakness. Actually, that's a good thing.
That's a cheat code.
Yeah,
that's what that is. That's a cheat code.
Yeah,
you know. I'll put it this way: if I popped in a video game, right? And I said, hey, in the first 5 seconds, hit A. Right? Trust me, in the first 5 seconds, hit A. Would you do it? Simple question, right? Yeah, I probably would. Like, you beat this game, you played it over and over again. I'm gonna hit A 5 seconds in. Are you familiar with Super Mario Brothers?
Oh yeah.
You know that first Goomba?
Yeah.
You know that first Goomba has the most kills out of any monster in all of Super Mario Brothers. You know why? Because people don't see it coming. The first time you boot up that game, that Goomba kills you, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. You just walk it. But think of the key information. By statistically speaking, the most dangerous creature in the game, I can help you avoid it by simply telling you, hey, 5 seconds in, hit A.
Yeah.
That's the value of listening to somebody else that you look up to and respect, right? That's the value of asking for advice, because the most dangerous snakes out there, you can learn to avoid if you listen to the people who've gone through the grass first. That's mentorship.
Exactly. So, how do you make time to do the podcast and your job and, you know, spend time with your family? How do you make time? Because, you know, I used to do this. You know, I'm just recently moved here. I've been here, next month will be a year, right? So yeah. I used to work a full-time job. This is when I was in Atlanta. I used to work a full-time job. I used to work 40, 50 hours a week. Yeah. Then do podcasts. So and it was very difficult for me. So how do you make time?
Man, time blocking. Intentionality is everything. So time blocking. A lot of people will say, okay, my wife sees my calendar. It's a Google Calendar. It's color coded. I time my sleep. Now, I'm not wholly strict on this. I'm not fully strict on this, but it's my template. It's my guideline, right? And I just regiment and compartmentalize my day. I also think I have the blessing of a very early job. I say the blessing because I wouldn't wake up that early otherwise. But because of my job as morning meteorologist, my alarm clock goes off at 2:10 a.m. That's the time I'm waking up. So I get into work at about 2:45 in the morning. I have an evening routine where everything is already put out the night before. So I wake up, I brush my teeth, put my clothes on. I'm out the door in less than 15 minutes. It's about 10 minutes from my wake up time to me out the door. I'm at work 2:45. I work a full shift. I get out about 11:30, get home, wash my face, change, go to the gym. That gym usually revitalizes me. I get out of the gym by 1:30. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. I've worked a full shift. I've gotten a workout in. And at that point in time, there's two kinds of people. There's two kinds of people. One is, all right, I've done my work. going to go to bed, take a nap, relax. 2 is I have a dream that I'm chasing. I have a purpose that I'm going for. I'm not done yet. I did what I had to do for everybody else. I did my work for myself. I have this window. My wife's at work. She comes home later. I have this window. Right now, we're recording this podcast. This is my window. I just finished a workout literally 15 minutes ago. I'm in here, finished the podcast recording, 5 o'clock. All right, get my clothes ready, start prepping dinner. My wife comes home. She gets undivided attention for the 2 hours before 7 o'clock. And then, boom, 7 o'clock, I'm in my bed. I read my book and then say my prayer. I go to bed. So I'm regimented. I'm disciplined. And that is not going to be a permanent thing, right? It's not going to be a forever thing. But this is literally kind of like the funny thing about balance, right? We talk about balance in life. I do believe, kind of like when you stand on the scale, and in the old school scale, they like kind of like go back and forth. The first thing they think, clunk, it's off the moment you stand on it, first and foremost. Yeah. Then you take the shot all the angle, clunk on the other side. Oh, way too far. And then you get clink, 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 clink. So in order to get balance, you first have to be out of balance. So I'm thinking we settle into the balance that we want in life, and I'm picking a degree of imbalance right now. That I'll be honest, I get maybe 5-6 hours of sleep at night. They're not enough. I want more, right? But when kids come into play, and I've maybe built enough passive income to work for myself, make more money, working less, and I have the time freedom to spend time with my family, with my kids, and also maybe take a lot of vacations and relax. It might look lucky to some, but I'll tell them, you didn't see me from 23 to 35, 36, 37. You didn't see how I lived. You didn't see how I did things. And that's kind of what my focus is because I'm not focused on tomorrow. I'm not focused on next year. I'm focused on being 40 years old, chilling. That's what I'm trying to do. I say that about 5-6 years.
It's always going to be some sort of sacrifice or some kind of sacrifice.
Yeah.
You want to, I guess, get ahead, live a better life, level up, whatever you want to call it. It's no free lunch.
No.
No free lunch, man. So this is my last question.
Yeah.
I've noticed that on your website, you've done like events in the past, or you gonna do more of that in the future?
Man, I want to. So COVID-19, the pandemic, altered a lot of plans, and I had to go digital, to be honest. And that's the other thing. Going digital was a business move that takes a lot of the resources more on the digital side and not so much on the event spacing side. But I also realized in the events that we threw, I was doing them a disservice by not doing them, I don't want to say bigger, but I wasn't getting them in front of enough people. Okay. So I want to end up just kind of continuing to bring these people in the podcast medium, because in essence, it's the same thing that we were doing, and hopefully build an audience big enough to have a conference, at the very least a virtual conference. But I'd plan on doing a lot more in-person things now that we're kind of coming on the other end of this pandemic and actually seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We can get together again and do things, because that's where the real magic happens. We need to be in person.
Yeah, because you talk about a lot of different important topics.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So hey, keep doing the good work, man. So if people wanted to follow you, where would they go to?
So website is themodernmanpodcast.com, or themodernmanshow.com/podcast. That'll get you right there. All my links are there, and on social, you can, it's at the Modern Man Podcast on Instagram, and you can get all of our episodes. They come out every week, and yeah, man, we talk about everything from relationships, making money, in fitness, improving ourselves, really, because I do believe the modern man is always changing, always evolving, but also sticking to those fundamental core values and codes that also kind of ground them. So sky's the limit, guys.
There you have it. Like, share this episode. Let me know what you think below. All links will be found in the show notes. Until next time, we out. Peace. If you like this video, share this video. And if you want to support my channel, click the thanks tab and leave me a donation. 2, 5, 10, 50. is click whatever tab you want to donate and leave me a note and let me know how the video helped you. And you click the buy and send tab. Appreciate it.